Episode 17, Teamwork Part 1 and 2. Back on the school training grounds, the air was thick with anticipation. The competition was only days away, and every team was hard at work, preparing their combat strategies, perfecting their abilities, and honing their support skills. The 7 students from Earth had already entered their respective realms, each to restore and enhance their powers. The tournament was about to begin, and their minds were set on victory. As Evil made his way toward the students who had defeated his Dungeon Beast minions, the Dungeon Beast twins, he seethed with frustration. How could he break the rules of the Shadow's curse? He muttered angrily to himself. A voice, sharp and cold, echoed from the shadows. He has full connection with both realms. Evil paused mid-step, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Who dares spy on the great king of the demon world? The voice returned, its tone neutral yet ominous. The one you call Sagi, once a mere human, now possesses the power of a god. Evil's eyes widened in disbelief. What? The voice continued, almost mocking. Oh, you claim to be the king of the demon world, yes. Evil snarled, who wants to know? In that instant, the powerful presence of Carmino materialized before him. So, that makes you a candidate worthy of becoming the dragon demon of this world. But you still have much to prove. Without another word, Carmino's eyes flared, and dark flames surged outward, striking at Evil. Evil reacted swiftly, leaping aside, his dark shield casting a shimmering barrier that deflected the flames. But Carmino was relentless. He vanished into the shadows and reappeared behind Evil, his foot lashing out in a spinning kick. Evil blocked the blow just in time, but the force still sent a shockwave through his body. The two of them exchanged blow after blow, fists clashing with the sound of thunder as they moved with lightning speed. Evil managed to land a powerful punch, sending Carmino skidding across the ground, his body crashing into the dirt. But Evil was already charging up his next attack, gathering dark energy in his palm. Dark energy wave, Evil roared, launching a massive blast at Carmino. The explosion lit up the sky, shrouding everything in darkness. Evil hovered above the wreckage, his voice cold and dismissive. Some emperor you were. HMPH. Without further delay, he flew off, his eyes narrowing as he continued his mission. Meanwhile, back in the dimension of the tournament, the countdown to day 1 had begun. Contestants were required to sign in at the fighter's desk before being allowed to explore the area. Once done, they had free time to shop and prepare until their names were announced for the first round of matches. Ligo, Weishi, and Filu seized the opportunity to search for their missing teammates, Ariano, Urthina, Ishi, and Mykono. The marketplace was teeming with people, and the sheer volume made it nearly impossible to locate anyone. Ariano, Urthina, Ishi, and Mykono were already busy shopping for new gear. Look at this armor, Ariano said, admiring a set of intricate plate armor. This will come in handy. Ishi, sifting through a pile of items, spoke up. I found some healing powder for after the tournament. It's always good to be prepared. The group moved on to grab a bite to eat after their shopping spree, unaware of the time ticking down to the first match. Meanwhile, Ligo, Weishi, and Filu had also found some items to help them on their journey, including armor and potions. Ligo, Filu, I found healing potions. Weishi called out with a grin. We found armor and some interesting spells, Ligo added, his tone reflective as he examined a magical scroll. With only 3 hours left until their match began, Ligo, Weishi, and Filu decided to grab a quick meal before the tournament started. Meanwhile, miles away, Evil fumed as he drew closer to the tournament. That nuisance wasted my time, he muttered, recalling the interference of the so-called God Angel, and Carmino, the so-called Emperor. First that God Angel, then him, such a poor excuse for an emperor. But just as the smoke from his earlier battle with Carmino cleared, the Demon King's fury turned to confusion. Carmino stood in the distance, seemingly unscathed, with a small, mocking smirk on his face. I heard that, Carmino said, his voice dripping with amusement. Suddenly, Evil felt an ominous, dark presence. Before he could react, Carmino's form disappeared and reappeared in an instant, knocking Evil into the ground with a single strike. Evil stumbled to his feet, fury now mingled with a hint of confusion. "Show yourself," he demanded, his voice tinged with anger. Carmino appeared above him, his eyes glowing. "Did you really think you'd be rid of me so easily?" Their battle resumed with even greater intensity as Carmino unleashed his devastating blows. Evil countered, but the fight was becoming more than he had anticipated. Evil suddenly withdrew from the battle with a dismissive manner towards Carmino and flew off. Meanwhile, back at the tournament grounds, the city's intercom blared, signaling the start of the matches. "All teams, report to your designated posts immediately." Teams scrambled to their designated areas. Soon, the first match was underway. Team 2 Tashi, Kyoko vs Team 5 Tokuchi, Folies, Tonoyo, Lukio. As the battle commenced, Kyoko and Kyoka, working in tandem, used their symbol encodings to set traps around the battlefield, while Tashi brandished his dark sword, sending slashes of dark energy flying toward Team 5. Tokuchi, the leader of Team 5, instructed his team to overwhelm the other two members while he focused on Tashi. Lukio, ever elusive, disappeared into the shadows, evading detection. "They are using that same strategy again," Mikono observed from the sidelines. "But without their leader, that tactic is almost useless." Tokuchi blocked the dark slashes with his own energy, charging in to face Tashi directly. The two clashed with fierce intensity. But when Tokuchi got close, Tashi's body erupted with dark energy, and he vanished into the ground, becoming one with the shadows. A massive explosion rocked the battlefield as fire and ice symbols appeared, launching fiery blasts directly at Tokuchi. The impact sent Tokuchi flying, but he remained standing, though clearly wounded. Kyoko laughed from across the field. "Let me explain what's happening. My brother and I set traps all around the battlefield. Only Tashi can sense them. He's been distracting you all to lure out your invisible member." The battle continued to unfold as Tokuchi, now furious, activated his black mist ability, making himself and his team invisible. Kyoko and Kyoka struggled to detect them, but then, they caught a glimpse of movement. Suddenly, multiple fire and ice bullets rained down on Kyoko, knocking her away. Tokuchi reappeared, landing a blow on Kyoko's twin. With his back to the wall, Kyoko issued a command to Kyoka. "Create the counter shield, now." Together, they formed an icy barrier to defend themselves. "Your tricks won't work on us anymore," Tokuchi sneered. But Kyoko and Kyoka had a new plan. They unleashed a devastating counterattack, using their elemental powers to create a storm of fire and ice that engulfed the battlefield. As the storm raged, Tashi moved with the speed of lightning, unleashing dark slashes to wipe out the remaining members of Team 5. One by one, they fell to the ground, unconscious. "Team 2 wins," the announcer boomed, and the crowd erupted in cheers. As the tournament continued, Evil finally arrived at the city, summoning a horde of demons to wreak havoc on the surrounding area. Back in the tournament, the battles raged on. Ligo, Weishi, and Filu had sensed Evil's demons. They headed out to the nearest city under attack and defeated Evil's minions. They began defending the cities on their way to the next invaded city. Meanwhile, Carmino, having followed Evil's trail, confronted him once more. "You've caused quite a bit of trouble," Carmino observed, his tone cool. Evil turned, fury burning in his eyes. "How did you catch up with me?" Carmino smirked. "I'm the Demon Emperor, and soon to be the Dragon Demon Emperor of the world. I know things." Without further words, Carmino vanished, reappearing behind Evil with lightning speed. The fight resumed, the city trembling under their power. Back at the tournament, the battles continued as Team 7 fought against Team 7 in a brutal clash. As the dust settled in the match between both Team 7s, a winner was declared. The fourth round was about to begin, with Ariano, Earthina, Ishii, and Mikono facing off against a team from Forest Field High. The battlefield shuddered as both teams entered, preparing for a fight that would determine their fate. Tomoni stood tall, eyes glowing with a dark power as he began chanting under his breath. His fingers twisted through the air, drawing arcane symbols in the sky. With a final, resounding utterance, he completed the incantation. Demonic forest illusion. The world around them warped in an instant. The bright sun disappeared, and the air grew thick with the scent of burnt wood and decay. The landscape transformed into a ruined city, broken buildings rising like jagged teeth from the earth. Darkness fell heavily over the battlefield, the only light coming from the flickering embers of destruction. The teams were now separated by these fallen structures, each lost in the haunting silence of the ruined world. Ariano, Earthina, Ishii, and Mikono quickly assessed their surroundings and used their personal connection to regroup. The illusion was powerful, and visibility was poor, but Team 4 were not about to be caught off guard. They immediately split into pairs to cover more ground. Ariano and Earthina headed west, while Ishii and Mikono took the eastern path, both determined to locate their opponents. In the distance, Naoki and Kashi stood together, their voices blending in perfect harmony as they began to sing. The air shimmered around them, and thick mist began to rise from the ground, obscuring the view. The rain followed, falling in heavy sheets. The mist made it nearly impossible to detect any energy or life force, while the rain amplified the water magic that was to come. Yoga, standing at the center of it all, clenched his fists. "Ocean base. Water surface," he said in a low voice. A roar split the air as a massive wave of water surged forward, covering the battlefield like a sea storm unleashed. Ariano's eyes widened as the enormous wave hurtled toward him. He quickly raised his arms, summoning a powerful air shield around himself and Earthina to keep the water at bay. "Stay close, Earthina," he grunted, bracing against the pressure of the incoming wave. Earthina nodded and planted her feet firmly, raising rock-like shields around them. "We need to push forward. We can't let them keep control of the battlefield." Meanwhile, Ishii was already reacting. With a flick of her wrist, she used her water manipulation ability to split the wave as it approached, creating an icy path for herself and Mikono. The ground beneath them rippled with the force of the water. Tomomi wasn't done. He stepped forward and raised his hands, dark energy crackling in the air. "Thunderous tantrum strike," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the sky. A dark storm cloud formed above them, and bolts of lightning shot down, striking the ocean with violent force. The water crackled with electric energy, surging toward Ariano and Earthina. "Watch out," Earthina shouted, but it was too late. The first bolt crashed into their shields, sending shockwaves through the air. Ariano and Earthina struggled to keep their ground, their shields buckling under the onslaught. Sparks flew as the electric bolts hammered against them, forcing them back. Ishii and Mikono weren't safe either. The storm turned its attention to them. Two bolts of lightning shot toward them from opposite directions. Mikono acted quickly, summoning dark shadow walls to deflect both strikes into the air, but a third bolt came from behind, catching him off guard. Ishii, sensing the danger, created an ice shield to protect them both. The ground trembled as they were hit, the force of the lightning threatening to break through. "This is useless," Mikono muttered, frustration clear in his voice. "We need to find a way to clear this water and take control." Back with Ariano and Earthina, they knew they couldn't keep holding back the water forever. Ariano gritted his teeth. "We need to do something now," he shouted. Suddenly, the ground shook as Tomomi, Yoga, Naoki, and Kashi regrouped, floating high above them. They raised their arms in unison, preparing their ultimate combination attack. Thunderous cannon, waterous wave slashes, forest steel bullets, dark aura blades, they chanted in unison, their voices blending in eerie harmony.